guys, welcome to parenting. I don't even know what to call it. I just said parenting. Help, right? That's how I phrased it. So I have the McConnells here, and basically the whole purpose of what we're doing right now. I knew I'm the dad of three boys, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a almost 8-month old. So all boys. And I thought that I would be good at this. I think all of us grow up thinking we're going to be better than our parents. And we're like, oh, I got this. I'm going to be an amazing parent. And then, or you see other kids, when you're growing up and you're like, my kids will never do that. This arrogance that we have. And then our kids are those kids. And you're like, no, how do you do this? We don't know what we're doing. So it's important. Number one, obviously seek the Lord. He wants to guide you. He is a good father, right? We sing a song about it. Good father. I don't sing it. Okay. So, but we need to ask for help. We get into community, start a group, parenting group, and just invite one other family and just say, let's partner together. So today we had the McConnells, and I'm going to be asking them some questions. But in the meantime, if you want to post a question while they're talking, and I'm going to ask them those questions that you write at the very end. Okay. So McConnells, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here to help me and everybody else, but especially me, because I need the help. And I'll be the one that humbles themselves. Everybody else is kind of secretly just watching, I hope Rob asked that question. But first, introduce yourselves, your kids, and their ages.
Well, I'm Tracy.
I'm Denise.
And we have 5 kids: Clarice, Stephen, Andrew, Joseph, and Julia.
Okay. Clarice is 23. Stephen is 21. Mm-hmm. Andrew is turning 20 in a couple months. Wow. Joseph is 18. And Julia is 13.
So wait. You have all of them except for one is basically considered an adult. Right?
Yes.
So 4 adults and 1 child. Now, I'm not saying that they don't all act like adults, right? But so the question I'm asking everybody and all the parents that come on here, I'm asking them something pretty simple, is just what's one thing, because we all have things that we're still working on that we can't say, well, I'm really good at this, but we all can say something that, you know what, I think I have a good handle on this one thing, or maybe I wasn't very good, but we learned and we adapted, and this is where we became kind of victorious. So what is one thing, one area, one win that you guys feel like you have accomplished in parenting?
I'm going to start with the one that all 5 of my kids agrees with. This was the consensus. The one thing that all 5 of them said when we asked them.
Oh, you asked them, are we good? Are you insecure? Are we good parents?
No, it's an ongoing dialogue.
Yes.
It was not an unusual question.
But I thought if we came on here and said things that we were good at and our kids were listening or saw it, they were like, what? We didn't want that. So we asked, and the one thing that all 5 of them agreed on was it was our heart to teach our kids a love for learning. And every single one of them said we succeeded at that. Okay. They love to learn. They feel confident in trying new things, in researching, in stepping out and taking chances when it comes to things that they don't necessarily know, or it may not be their best area or subject. They are willing to learn, to investigate and learn new things. So that's one area that we succeeded at. Now, success at the end doesn't necessarily mean success all the way along. So I remember days when we got to 10 o'clock and it just was careening down the hill, and we'd say, okay, stop, do over. And we'd start the day over.
Is this 10 o'clock at night? Because
10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know.
Oh, in the morning.
10 o'clock in the morning.
Homeschooling.
Yes. Yeah. So
one of the privileges of homeschooling is you have the chance to actually have a do-over. Hard to do when you get them at 10 o'clock at night and they say, You go, ah!
Yeah, we'll try again tomorrow. We've done that too.
Yeah.
You know, 10 o'clock at night, and we're like, okay, yeah, this day didn't work. Chalk it up to experience. Try again tomorrow.
Good.
So, but we, as a family, we loved doing learning things just in everyday life. You know, teaching them how to cook or how to clean. We
How to
had,
budget money.
yes, we had 5 kids, so it was hard to remember who did what.
Mhm.
So we started this system where we paid them in these little these little discs. Each of them had their own color because we didn't want any stealing going on.
Mhm.
And they could only spend their color unless a sibling was going to treat them.
And they got to spend it on things like TV time, or computer time or
playtime. And that was really helpful because then I didn't have to keep track of who was on timeout and who lost privileges, because you either had the money for it or you didn't. And that made it really easy. So they got points for doing their chores, doing a good job at their chores, you know, being honest, helping one another, and helping me, you know, being responsible,
Mhm.
you know, things that we were teaching them. And so they would earn points for that, and then they could spend their points for special things that we.
So that was kind of your incentive program. And let me just back up to your first, what you guys said that you did. Your first point was to build that learning behavior. And I think that's something that we all run into with our kids, is that there's a lack of self-belief, or I can't do it, right? Or kind of just give up, because we don't want quitters. Like nobody wants, we want the kid to have the ability to, I don't know, how do you instill in them a healthy view of failure? Because I think that people can be so crushed that they don't try anything. So can you give me like a specific, like, how did you ingrain it in them that it's okay to like figure it out? Can you think of a time?
Well, there were 2 things we did. Okay, actually, I'm gonna let you start on this because I could talk a lot.
Well, I think one of the things is doing it by example, because we're also lifelong learners. And so my wife is real into podcasts, listens to podcasts all the time, has for years. And before then would be always reading books and looking to learn things that way. So we read to our kids a lot. We read, they watched us read and learn things and study. So it wasn't just a matter of, here's what you need to do what I say, but it was really, they got to observe that and got to learn that, not just because it was something we were telling them, but something they were watching us do as well.
And we taught, when we were teaching them things, we said, the goal is for you to be able to do it well. It wasn't about passing or failing. It wasn't about, the emphasis was not on getting it right away. It was, we are going to work on this till you master it. And it wasn't, we incorporated our learning as part of our life. So one of the things, both Tracy and I love math. And so we'd play math games at the dinner table. We'd play math games in the car. We would play math games. Whatever we were doing, we made it a part of our life. And it wasn't so much about failing, it was about how do we get to mastering. And one thing that we did that really has made an impact, we had a list of characters. This was from Bill Gothard.
Character traits.
Character traits.
Honesty and integrity and
attentiveness, obedience. And so we had our kids, and so it had, you know, little sayings of what that character looks like. If you were attentive, you know, you would ask questions when you don't understand. And so we would practice those. And then we invited our kids, each of them, to pick one character that they wanted to be known for.
One character trait.
One character trait.
So like Clarice chose attentiveness. And,
yes.
And what we did is we'd have her they had certain I do statements. So I will sit up straight like a soldier on command. I will ask questions if I don't understand. Wow, I
Yes.
actually know these. But we'd have them memorize those, and then we would not only have them understand it and do some reading around that, but we would also reward them when we saw them progressing in that. And when they actually became characterized by those things, when we actually saw those and other people saw those characteristics, we threw them a party. And we said, not just a party, not just like, hey, you know, but we like invite people in, cake, ice cream, whatever it was. We wanted it to be like you celebrate a birthday or maybe even bigger, because the fact of the matter is they accomplished something by becoming characterized by a specific character trait. You know, for their kid to say, you know, for you to be able to say, hey, my kids actually demonstrated that they're honest or that they're responsible.
Yeah.
And not only do we see it, but other people see it, and we want to reward that and recognize that, call that out, celebrate that with them.
So those were some of the things that we did to help them, encourage them that you can do this. If you set your heart to do something that's of value, it is totally within your reach with God's help. And we would pray over them, that character that they chose. And, you know, just again, we'd acknowledge it every time we saw it. And, you know, they all kind of ended up being that one that they focused on, but then they'd pick up other ones from their siblings. They have other character traits as well. And it taught them that character matters. And to be known.
It has to kind of be taught, which is it doesn't just come ambiguously, you know, and
yes.
I'm just thinking like we celebrate that you survived the year. So that's like basically the birthday is like you survived. Good job. Time has passed, and we're saying, look, you're a year older, which there's nothing wrong with. It's fun, but saying, hey, here's a set of values that will help you live the life. The years that are passing you're showing tangible growth. So you're just saying, hey, these are things that you want to obtain to, right? And then how do you get to that point? And then really celebrating that. So it's like a lot of coaching in there. Sounds like affirmation, but a lot of intentionality, like explaining that these are things that we want to become. These are good characteristics and traits that human beings, Christians, right?
Yes.
You want to have established in your life to make an impact on people. So that's really, really good. I love that. That's a really good idea. What's something that you guys have struggled through? What do you think? I mean, obviously being a parent's like every day. I mean, it's like struggle through. Maybe you've had success in, maybe your kids say, wow, you handle that well, you know.
No, I think a really good example of that is financials. You know, when we first got married, we had various backgrounds that we came from. We had some debt that we walked into our marriage with. We didn't have a good system for budgeting. We both did budgets, but we were okay with debt, and it caught up with us. And big time. At the time that it caught up with us, we had our own business. The economy was pretty good, and then suddenly things started shuffling around, and the economy went south. We lost our two biggest clients, three biggest clients within a couple of months of each other, and suddenly we found ourselves going, you know, this isn't working so well, and we tried to get the business back rolling again, thinking, okay, the small downturn, we can weather it, but just dug ourselves a big deep hole with that.
Yeah.
How old were the kids during that time? How old were they?
Oh gosh.
Okay, so this was 2008, 2009 timeframe. So Julia would have been 1.5.
Okay.
Joseph.
We're playing the math game right now. We're like literally like at this moment
would have been
playing math.
6 or 7, and 10, and Clarice would have been 12, 13.
Okay. So they're actually, this is part of you showing, they were seeing actually what was happening in your lives.
Yes.
All the financial struggle. And how much did you let them know? Because I think as parents, we're afraid, we don't want to build fear in them. So we don't tell our kids anything because we want to keep that, you know, atmosphere of like, everything's fine, everything's perfect. But if they don't allow them to see our struggle, and are processed through it, then that kind of hampers them. Did you show them?
Okay.
Did they
Well,
know?
Oh yeah, it was we lived it out. In fact, we helped them to
Yes.
engage with us. I mean, one of the things that we
You put them all to work. Y'all need to get a job right now. And we need to,
no, but we would go out and serve in the food pantry. So not only were we being
well, we
helped,
first
but
started
we also
going to
started
get
helping
food
others.
from the food pantry.
oh, wow.
And then because we were homeschooling, we were available. So we started volunteering in the food pantry.
Mhm.
And so they knew we were struggling because that's where most of our food came from, was the food pantry.
And we went from, food you'd buy in a grocery store to the things that were, like powdered milk. That was their powdered milk season.
Yes.
They'd never experienced powdered milk before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but we found out about Dave Ramsey and wanted to take the class, and found out that there was a class. But for us, what we needed a class that had childcare. So there was a church here in Grand Prairie, the Grand Prairie Baptist Church, that had a class on a Sunday, and they had childcare. And so we went there instead of going just to Gateway, because we would have had to gone to, it was $100 to take the class. We didn't have that. And this church that we had never been to before, they scholarshiped us.
And we were the only
We were
kids.
the only ones. They had childcare, but we were the only ones that had kids. And
God has met us
you know,
time again.
and there all 18 weeks at the time, every Sunday going to this church where they didn't really know anybody, but they just really blessed us.
Mhm.
And we would talk about it, how these people were sacrificing for us because we needed the help.
Mhm.
And we've really, I don't know that we really spelled out to our kids how difficult, how bad things were, but the things that we learned, we taught them.
Mhm.
And to this day, that's one of the things, again, that they said we did well. A couple of our kids said we never felt like we were poor or we didn't have, but we learned that debt is not your friend, that you can do a good job without going into debt. Every single one of our kids that have a car buy their cars cash. They all saved up and bought their car when they got their driver's license. We helped them with their first car. We told them how much we would contribute towards it. They saved up the rest of the money and they went and shopped, and they, to this day, they buy their cars cash.
Wow.
And that came out of that season of our life. And when we became debt free,
Mhm.
which was many, many years, we got them together and we celebrated and we thanked God and we thanked them because we could not have done it without them.
Mhm.
I
It makes a
remember,
big difference when the kids have a good attitude and not saying, "Hey, let's go out for McDonald's." You're going, "I can't. We
Yes.
can't do that." They got the message that wasn't an option,
yeah,
and they were okay with that. They helped, helped around the house and did the things that were
Yes.
necessary for us to get through that season. And everybody learned. The whole family learned through that.
Well,
Yeah.
I love how you guys also not only celebrate characteristics that they, threw a party for that, but you also threw a party for like, hey, as a family, we've grown through this, and those
Yes.
milestones are like really important. So I'm learning like all these little nuggets, which I appreciate. So everyone listening, like this is really for me, but you get to listen. Uh, but one thing that you're not saying this, but it is pretty interesting that I would like to kind of challenge my families out there with older kids. Are you brave enough to ask your kids, what do you think I do well as a parent? I mean, because that's a hard question. You don't know what, and what if they said nothing? You mean you don't even know what they're gonna say, but you ask that question, and just to hear their feedback, I think that would be it's kind of insightful. Were you surprised at any of their responses, or like, oh, I didn't think they would say that, or Well, what was their response? I mean, was there anything that caught you off guard or like, oh, good?
Well, our oldest son, who is married, he got married a couple of years ago. And when he first told us that he was getting married, we were like, not having anything to do with that. We are not on board with that plan at all.
Wow.
Yes, we were very strong about that position, and which caused the rest of our kids to be in a really difficult position. We didn't realize that they had to choose, right? Whether they sided with their brother or they stayed with us, not understanding that. And as we walked that out, as we were walking that out, getting counsel and talking to other people about, what we were doing, got some really wise counsel and came to our senses, because this is something that we have done through most of our marriage, not all of it with our kids, is that the relationship is really important. And I was talking with one of the pastors who we're really good friends with, and I was telling him what the situation was. And he said to me, okay, so are they in sin? I said, no. So why are you so against this? Because I don't think this is a good time. I don't think this is I had all of my reasons. He said, but they're not in sin. No. He said, so if you're not going to be a part of this wedding, are you saying that you're waiting for the divorce so you could be a part of another wedding? And wow, that so impacted me. And I talked with Tracy and we realized, because they don't choose what we think is the right choice, it doesn't make us right.
Yeah.
And so we repented, and we had to repent to all of our kids.
And that's one of the things too that they've said, and what we've learned from them in asking is that they really appreciate our humble attitude, that we'd be willing to repent, to be willing. And that's not the first time that's happened, that we've come and said, we were wrong. It was wrong of us to do that, or wrong of us to act that way, or, that to be willing to say, would you forgive us? And that has meant a lot to them. I mean, and I think that's something that we've done, that we've been characterized by doing again and again and again, is adopting that humble attitude to say, we're not perfect. We're learning too. We're growing.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to.
So what we ended up doing with that child was we took him out, we repented to him and said, okay, would you share with us anything that we have done or said that has caused you harm or hurt, or any baggage that you would take with you as you leave our home, because we would like to deal with that right here and right now. And that was the thing that he said. He said, Mom, it was so freeing for you guys to give me that space to share my hurts that had come from our relationship, and to get that cleaned up and resolved before he stepped into his marriage. That was powerful.
That's
that was
awesome.
really powerful.
Really good. Well, our time's almost up. Is there any departing thoughts that you would like to share to parents out there, or anything at all that you feel like, oh, before we go, I really got to mention this one thing?
Okay, two things I would like to mention is, for your little kids, one thing that really was helpful to us is, don't assume because you've said something over and over that they get it, or that they know it, or that is actually training. Take the time to train your kids to do the things you want them to do. One of the things that we did when our kids were young and we were just in the training stages, what we would do is, I would like, when I called my child, that they would come to me and say, yes, Mom, here I am. And so we would practice that. I would send them to their bedroom, and I would call them by name, and they would come running out and say, "Yes, Mom, here I am." And we would just, those things that we wanted them to do, we practiced it.
That's
so
good.
that when we did it, we required that of them. We knew that they were capable, they knew what was the right response, and we can address it if they didn't respond rightly.
You probably had to do that a couple times, right?
Oh, yes. Actually, we made it a fun thing that here's how we learn. Again, another one of those other things that we need to learn. We don't know just by osmosis. We learn because we practice, and we get better at those things that we practice. So that was very effective. And then the other thing was our teenagers, the things that we did with our younger kids when they got to be teenagers. Wow, that like didn't work like at all. Yeah, it was like I got dumb overnight. And again, through stumbling along and reading and listening to other parents, what we learned was focus on the relationship and check your own heart, your own stuff. Because I could tend to be kind of a control freak. And as they are growing and becoming their own person, leave room for that. And work on you being the best parent that you can be, and let them learn how to be the best son or daughter that they can be, and hold each other accountable. It really grows into a beautiful relationship, which is what you want when they're grown up.
Sure. Tracy?
I'd say one thing is to make sure you spend time with them. And we would and still do have one-on-one time with each of our kids individually. And I think that is a marvelous thing to help us continue to develop relationship, have communication about just what's going on in their lives. And it's more about receiving what's going on than it is about telling them how to do something. So during that one-on-one time is really more about listening than it is about talking. And to sow into the relationship. One of my prayers, and I think that's my second thing, is pray about everything all the time. Because the reality is we don't know what's going to be necessary along the way, but God does, and He will show up and lead us to the Dave Ramsey material when that's necessary, or the other material that He's led us to for parenting. But the material helped us in that season, but God will lead you to exactly what you need if you just invite Him in. And one of the prayers I would pray over my kids, we would read pretty much every night, and I would pray with them pretty much every night. And I would always pray that I want them to know that they're loved. If I can have nothing else but that my kids know that I love them, then that's an extraordinary gift.
That is a gift. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. I love everything that you guys said. And those parents that are watching, you're doing a great job. Don't give up. Don't throw them out of the house. You can do this. Ask the Lord for help. And God's going to do something awesome through you with all these little souls. And they're going to grow up, and you're going to have great relationships with them. Guys, for next week, same time, so on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock, we have the Romans Luis Roman, which is over our Spanish XO. And so he has a church, and he said that he would graciously come with his wife, and they have a talk show, and it'll be in English because I won't understand anything if they're talking in Spanish. So, but they're going to be coming next week. Guys, if you need anything, just like they were saying, do your research, watch these videos, and really be in community, especially with the Holy Spirit. So I just challenge you guys that you can't do it alone. So do it with God and do it with some friends. So we love you guys. Thank you, McConnells, for being here and investing your time and your energy and sharing your mistakes and your successes. And so I appreciate you guys and love you all. Have a great night. Bye-bye.